Hey guys, I want to give you guys a quick lab, week 5 lab quiz review for like quiz 5. Okay. So we talked about respiratory system, and respiratory function, the physiology of the respiratory system. So we want to remember spirometry. So spirometry is a type of test, like a breathing test that we can do for our patients, or like a test for their pulmonary function, right? So it tests how much air you can breathe in and out of your lungs, as well as how easily and how fast you can blow air out of your lungs, all right? So, for example, you can order like a spirometry test, for certain conditions, such as if your patients come in and they're wheezing, the shortness of breath, cough, or any type of pulmonary condition, right? So you can get a better idea of where they're at for their pulmonary function. So in order for us to get an accurate reading, for example, in a lab, we want to have our patients sitting relaxed, right? Your patients should be sitting and they should be relaxed. Now, the average value of our residual volume, right? So remember that the average volume of your residual volume is going to be 1.2 liters. However, we cannot measure this using the BioPack machine, okay? So remember that. However, when we're looking at respiration, breathing, right? It's not just our lungs that are doing the work. We also have the help of our diaphragm and those accessory muscles as well. So the contraction of the diaphragm and those external intercostal muscles will help to increase thoracic volume, right? And be able to increase our volume to to be able to bring in air. Now, remember, what controls our rhythm, right? Our respiratory rhythm is going to be controlled by the brain stem, right? So specifically, the medulla and the pons, right? That's going to be part of the brainstem, and that these are the neural control centers for respiratory rhythm. Okay. To regulate our pressure, so remember we have, each lung is going to be surrounded by a pleural cavity. So the pleural sac that lines the lungs, it allows optimal expansion and contraction of the lungs during breathing. And remember, we have the visceral pleura and the parietal pleura. The visceral pleura is going to be directly on the lungs. The parietal pleura is going to be on the wall of the chest cage. And between that visceral and parietal pleural membranes, we have this pleural fluid, right? That pleural cavity. And that fluid acts as a lubricant, allowing that parietal and visceral pleura to glide over each other without friction, right? So now, for example, what if we were to introduce a cut, right? So if there was an opening in the chest cavity, such as a puncture wound, this would destroy that parietal vacuum in that pleural space and deflate that affected lung, okay? So there's going to be some matching, so I want you guys to remember all of this, okay? So remember these matching, okay? Now, there are the internal conditions, right? So also remember that the internal conditions for which air tend to flow into the lungs will result in an increase in thoracic volume, however, a decrease in pressure, right? So those internal conditions where air will flow into the lungs, right? We're increasing our thoracic volume, and as we increase our thoracic volume, we also decrease the pressure, right? So the pressure has now been decreased due to an increase in the thoracic volume. So respiratory sounds, the sounds that we make through respiration. So as air flows in and out of the bronchial tree, it produces two characteristic sounds that can be auscultated with our stethoscopes, right, so that we can hear. So the bronchial sounds are produced by air rushing through the large respiratory passageways, right, the trachea and the bronchi. And this is heard both during inspiration and expiration. And then the second type is that vesicular breathing sounds, and that is resulting from air filling the alveolar sacs and resembling the sound of rustling leaves, or like rustling of the leaves. And so this sound is heard best in the actual lung area. Okay, so again, we have the bronchial sound, right, heard both during inspiration and expiration. And we also have the vesicular breathing sounds, And this sound is best heard in the lung area. Okay. So there we go. This is a quick little review of your quiz. Do well, and let me know if you have any questions, okay?